Yo, what is up, everybody? I wanted to take a minute to show you guys what's been working for me and Carrie. I personally really hate long drawn out videos about this stuff, so I've edited the video down to just the parts where I explain the build, why it works, and what are some of the drawbacks with it, and I want to break down some of the team fights. If you appreciate this, make sure you hit the like button for me. Here we go. So DEVO'S just got buffed really hard. They made it easier to stack and buffed its power. It's a really cheap item with a lot of power and lifesteal, so it's really good for ADCs right now. Whenever DEVO'S is meta, it makes building crit easier, and with the crit changes, it's super easy to build crit. Even though it does less damage, it applies the on-hit effects really consistently, even without building a ton of crit. So typically I either build Shadow Steel or Atlantas right after I get DEVO'S online. But with a lot of junglers building Jotun's Vigor right now, that's the upgraded Jotuns with a lot of lifesteal on it, I've had to build a lot of Shadow Steel Shuriken in my games. But when a team doesn't have very much healing, I just go ahead and get Atlantis Bow. If you miss the patch notes, it gives a lot of power, attack speed, crit, and lifesteal. So it's a really bloated item right now if you can fit it in. And I've seen some people building it first item, and I think it's okay to go first item at Atlantis Bow, but it's never going to be as impactful as DEVO'S. If you're trying to get an early lead on somebody who's building stacks, you'd usually consider going Crusher and really try to pressure them early, because as soon as they get DEVO'S online and their second item, they'll start out trading you really hard if you haven't already gotten a solid lead. So in your third slot, you typically need to get your pen item online. In this game I went Exy, but lately I've been building Silver Branch in this slot. Even if you aren't going to get the Silver Branch passive, Silver is still really good because of the 20% pen, attack speed, and power that you get. The 20% pen really helps you shred structures, whereas Exy doesn't apply to structures. And then when you're in team fights, it doesn't apply to your abilities unless you've already hit them with auto attacks. So a lot of characters you want to open up with your abilities to help you get the first couple auto attacks in. So I've started building Silver in this third slot, but I still build Executioner every once in a while, usually if we have Double Hunter or I really have to burn down tanks that are running at me. After your pen item, you can go Deathbringer, and I've been loving the glyphs for Deathbringer. I mostly go with Envenom Deathbringer because it helps you survive being dove. If you're tracking team fights well, you should be able to get a few crits off on their divers before they get to you. Use your escape, make some space, and then re-engage. So these four items and your starter are your core. You don't really have to build any more items for this build to be considered online. So your last item slot can be a complete flex. If you need more damage, you can build more crit or power or whatever. If you need more pen to shred tanks, you can build Exy or Dominance, or if you haven't built Silver Branch, you can build Silver Branch. If you need more survivability, don't be afraid to build defense, especially in ranked where your teammates are not very likely to help you. And a lot of what you're trying to do as carry is survive the team fight so that you can actually be there to do the objectives after. There have been some games where I'm getting dove really hard by something like a Mercury, and I'll build Spectral, and it will completely change the game because Mercury generally all-ins you, and if you win that trade on him, you've taken him out of the game, and he's usually people are going to try to carry from somebody like Mercury. So be really creative in that last slot. So let's get into breaking down this game. So starting this game out, they have a Sylvanas, AMC into our Charybdis and Athena, so they should generally have lane pressure, which is okay for us because it allows for our jungle to come over and get an early gank off on them. That's their med down, I think. Thank you for killing that.
I purposely used my shield wall on nothing.
Be careful. Okay.
So while your jungle's ganking, make sure you don't completely neglect the lane and the XP that's in the lane, because you want to guarantee that you're going to get XP. If you don't, and you roll the dice on the team fight or on the gank, then you're just going to take the risk of falling behind, and you can't really do that in carry because carry is really snowbally right now. So make sure you get the for sure farm, and then if the team fight goes your way, you have it even more. So it's up to them to kind of realize the situation and stall if they're, you know, going in alone, or if the wave is there and you can't prioritize the team fight necessarily. So even though they have lane pressure and their mid rotates over a little bit sooner, we still come out ahead on this fight. We get their jungle, their support, and their ADC. So whenever you're building DEVO'S against somebody who's building a crusher or some kind of like early game item, you starting out with this kind of lead is huge for you. It basically means you're not going to struggle as much, but you can't just give that lead up, because if you do, then you're, you know, kind of stuck behind. And this guy, you know, even though he's building for the early game, he's going to be behind because we're just winning the really early game, like the 1-5. We won that really hard, and then he just continually gets out pressured, out poked, and then he can't farm. He can't apply pressure because he's just continually taking poke. This is also a really good example of why I say that support and jungle really decide whether the carry is going to be ahead or behind. If my support and jungle weren't as close as they are, there's more of a chance of things going poorly, so I wouldn't be as aggressive as I'm being. And if the enemy support and jungle were pressuring my purple buff harder and the farm that's in right lane harder, then I would likely fall behind while AMC would come ahead. So the support and jungle really do help control the farm. It's not completely their responsibility, because you as a carry need to, you know, not get poked out. You need to try to keep your team informed of how they're positioning for pressure and invades, and you have to be aware. You have to be placing wards. You have to be, you know, not a free gank every time their support and jungle want to come over. So make sure you're paying attention to how your support and jungle are playing and how the enemy support and jungle are playing. So this fight we take around the red buff is really dumb. It's one way that people throw leads is by like just being way too aggressive without their team there, and that's kind of what we do. But we didn't throw our whole lead. You know, we bounced back pretty easily from it. And we're continually pressuring their side of the jungle just from carry and support. And then our jungle and our mid follow up on it a little bit, but we always have to initiate.
I'm taking their things on accident. Taking things.
That's Ravel. Here's the other guy.
You? That was very rude.
That's Aegis on AMC. He's out though. Speedy fucking B.
You think he's out?
Okay.
Do you think B's out?
Hey, behind us.
Do you see this pathing? Do you see this pathing though?
Yeah, I see. I gotta help them.
Oh my god, he's fast.
This is a really important thing to note right here. Notice how I wait around the corner for their jungle to get baited up and in further. Rav really wants to chase this kill, and you can use that to bait an ambush.
Wow, nice one. On my way.
I have a normal slow, not a heavy slow. Which way is this guy going? Nice. And then this is the second fight this game that I kind of get baited a little bit. And I need to just kind of listen to my instinct here and not like fight so hard. But we get their carry, so he's also not farming, which is okay. From ADC, you generally want to be really, really greedy about your farm, getting to your late game state, getting the core of your build online, so that you can just do the hyper carry things that you do from ADC late game.
Oh my god. Fuck this guy. Oh my god.
So here they try to take Fire Giant, and our team is not anywhere close. I'm able to get in there, kill their carry, which is their biggest, objective, Shred, and the most important person to have Fire Giant is the carry. And we basically get them off of Fire Giant, which is huge. And even though I had to die for it, it's okay. Their team's not getting Fire Giant. Their carry's definitely not getting Fire Giant. And we have another chance at going back to Fire. Then my team just kind of tries to push objectives without me, which doesn't really turn out the best. And you'll see this a lot in your ranked games. A lot of people, they don't group very well. They don't have the same mindset about what objectives are important to take at what time. And so you have to try to not tilt your team, but at the same time go for the right objectives and try to be positive about it all, because if they go for the wrong objectives at the wrong time, then you'll have a hard time closing out games, especially from carry, where you kind of need your team around you so that you can actually do the objectives, and they need to be able to protect you and all this other stuff, right? So generally you want to do everything you can to get them to kind of slow the game down, stop running at the other team, and group up and take team fights, actual team fights, unless your comp is designed for picking players, and in which case you want to kind of pick players and try to snowball off of a bunch of picks. So here we finally get 5v5, we group up, I'm able to shred their tanks a bit.
My mid laner already DC before the game even started.
Alright, AMC's here too.
I have upgraded sprint for you.
I'm not there. They have a bad initiation into their team fight, and they can't really get out. So we just get to dive, and we close the game out on this team fight. They're all dead. Their middle Phoenix is half. I'm still alive, so I can shred that Phoenix down, and we can end the game. Has he ulted?
I don't know.
Nice. We can end. Attack middle. And then here, my support and I have a little argument about, how this whole interaction was supposed to be. The minions are going in on the left. He was on the left and then dashed to the right. And then AMC, nobody's standing in front of AMC, so he gets the free cast on me, which stressed me out a little bit, even though I shouldn't have been stressed out about it. But I've seen people pull off crazy defenses because the tanks start auto-attacking the Titan instead of just body blocking or standing in front of the damage and keeping their carries alive, who are going to do 10 times the more damage to the Titan than the tanks will. So I got a little tilted. Shouldn't have been that tilted, but at the same time, you don't want to position that kind of way. So what I should have done, because I saw Athena dash to the right, even though the minions were with me on the left, I should have just gone around to the right and positioned behind my support, and from his point of view, he should have just gone to the left. There was no reason for him to dash to the right. He should have just dashed in on the left and then stood in front of the AMC. But it's all good. We got the win. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Make sure you smash that like button. Let me know what you think about the build in the comments. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks. Y'all have a great day.